I'm delighted to say our next guest is standing by. His name is Wesley O'Brien from Hit and Hope Tennis. He's an Irish tennis coach who has delivered tennis sessions, equipment and defibrillators to people living in refugee camps in Greece since 2018 in conjunction with a local charity called Lighthouse Relief. Wesley, good morning to you. How are you?
Hi, good morning, Tommy. How are you keeping?
It's Jaron Owen here, actually. You've got a raffle going on to raise funds for what you're doing at the moment. Maybe tell us a little bit about the prizes you have, and then you can tell us where the money's going to go, because the prize list here is fairly sensational.
Yeah, it started a number of years ago when I first went out to Greece. I decided to contact a couple of the NGOs in Greece. I suppose it was due to the job that I do here in Killaloe. I work a lot with young kids, and I kind of felt I would love to do something out in the refugee camps and with those kind of communities. So I've been out to Ritzona refugee camp on 3 occasions. And I set up a different program with another NGO in Greece as well. But the idea of the fundraising and the sports memorabilia was in my most recent trip to Ritzona. I asked one of the managers in the camp if they actually had a defibrillator in the camp. And they kind of said that in a refugee camp, something like that would be a luxury, so they wouldn't actually have one. So I just decided to come home and say, look, I'll try and raise a bit of money for you guys to have a defibrillator. So it all grew out of that. I reached out to like a number of different sports personalities to see who could, help me out with this, and the response was like amazing. It was like totally incredible. I got some amazing items from Usain Bolt, from Lewis Hamilton, Rory McIlroy, Raffle Nadal, and Franz Beckenbauer. Those are the 5 that I'm going to be, that we are going to be raffling off to raise some money, and some of the proceeds will be going to my own work out in the refugee camps and buying tennis equipment and tennis balls and tennis nets and hopefully some more defibrillators, and it's going to be shared with a good friend of mine called Alwyn O'Toole, who runs the Access Tennis Foundation here in Ireland. And what Alwyn does is Alwyn would bring tennis to kind of communities, disadvantaged, underprivileged communities here in Ireland. So we kind of felt that, what I do abroad, Alwyn would do here in Ireland. So we kind of link in well with each other.
So Wesley, how did you end up going to Greece the first time?
It kind of came like a number of years. It was kind of a combination of, like I said, the work I do here in the club. I work a lot with young kids and summer camps and coaching and schools. But I suppose the idea really came out of a number of years ago. I saw, what I suppose a very famous photograph now of a young boy called Alan Kurdi, who was 3 years old, and he washed up on the beach in Turkey. His family were trying to cross over from Turkey into Greece. He was a young Syrian boy, and unfortunately, like, the boat kind of capsized, and it was a very upsetting picture for me anyway. I suppose it was for like a lot of people. And I suppose it was really from that moment on I kind of felt, if I could do something, not much, but like something for those kids or something for those kind of communities, I would really love to do something. And I suppose tennis was kind of the obvious choice, because I am a tennis coach. So I just kind of reached out to a couple of NGOs, and one NGO came back called Lighthouse Relief, who was based in Ritzona refugee camp in northern Greece. And I just put the idea to them, look, I'm a coach here from Ireland, would you guys be interested in me getting as many rackets as I can, as many tennis balls as I can, and just kind of going down and running a bit of a summer camp or a winter camp for a week. And I suppose it was a bit nervous for both of us because it had never really been done before. But we worked out initially that, my first trip, I travelled down in November 2018 with all the rackets and all the balls to the refugee camp. And I spent a week just teaching the kids tennis and just having a bit of fun with them. And it was just like the most amazing experience ever. as far as I was concerned, it was, I always tell people that I'm glad I went for a week, but I'm sorry I went for a week. I'm glad I went in the sense of I got to do it, but I was sorry that it was only for a week, because I really felt myself having a bit of a connection, and the kids just were so amazing. They loved it. But I've been lucky now to be back to with Zona on 3 different occasions. And like I said, with COVID, I didn't get out for a long time, but I was lucky enough to get back to Greece to another NGO to start a second program with Strong Gens in Athens just this last September.
So what's Strong Gens? Strong
Gens is a school that's based in Athens for young Afghan refugees. And it was through the club here that I linked in with a gentleman called Gary O'Keefe, who's a teacher from Carlow. He's a primary school teacher. And like Gary would go over and back to kind of Greece as well, to Strong Gens, and do a bit of teaching with them, English and that kind of a thing. It's supposed it kind of symbolizes, Strong Gens as in like a stronger generation, I suppose, yeah.
Okay. And Wesley, for you, obviously, you said the response was tennis. It was obvious from your perspective. I suppose a lot of people are listening going, that's a kind of a wild enough idea, but it obviously was something that you thought would have an impact. Do you know what kind of impact it had? Like, and when you get there, what's the experience of being in the refugee camp for that week actually like? What did you see?
It's amazing. Like initially, like the first time I went over, just initially for the week, like you don't really know what to expect. I suppose, like the managers and the NGOs that are over there, like one of the ladies that's actually working over there full time is a lady called Claire Campion, who's from Kilkenny. So she would have told me, look, this is what you do, this is what you don't do. But like in relation to the kids, I just kind of went in, I always tell people I kind of went into kind of kid mode, It wasn't really, oh, you're different to the kids back home or anything like that. It was, let's have some fun, let's get out, the kids just, it was a brand new experience for them, as well as for the youth as well. And we had some ladies and girls playing tennis as well, which was, in that kind of culture is kind of unheard of. You don't ask questions. I found a couple, as they kind of get to know you, some of the residents would kind of open up to you, but you'd never be in a situation where you'd say, oh, where are you from? What happened to you? How did you get here? I would never ask those questions unless someone wanted to kind of tell me those questions.
I guess as somebody who is, the sport is your life in terms of your livelihood and all that kind of stuff, you have a belief that sport can help in scenarios like this. It's no one is suggesting that it's going to be a silver bullet to solve any of the world's problems, but as a distractionary, as a social glue, talk to us a little bit about your own kind of belief in sports, and was it strengthened or weakened as you kind of embarked on this process?
I feel it was 100% strengthened. Like you said yourself, what I'm doing over the, it's not going to change anyone's life. It's not going to, take away from what happened to them or make anything better. But, a big part of it is, if some of the residents here are lucky enough to get placed in a certain country, be it Germany or France or anything like that, and they go into a community and there's a tennis club, and they get invited into the club, and I played a bit of tennis, and I was, where I was, we played a bit of tennis, and it's a great way of kind of meeting friends and meeting, kind of welcoming people into a new community. For anyone, it's the same as to be said for anyone in Ireland. If someone is moving from one part of the country to another part of the country, if they play tennis in Donegal and they're moving to Clare and they join a club, it's a great way to kind of get involved with that. There's one story that kind of sticks out in my mind. The very first trip I was there, we had done tennis on pretty much all day. and it was near the end of the day, and we were, picking up the nets and picking up the cones and all that. And there was one little boy. He came across from the residential area, so where a lot of the residents would live, and he was the most gorgeous kid you'll ever see in your life. He was like this blonde-haired, blue-eyed kid. And without me even asking him, he was going around and he was picking up all the little cones for me and bringing them over to me. It's hard to get some of the kids in Ireland here to come and do that. But he went around, he picked up all the cones and he gave it to me, and there was no one else around. So I just gave the little boy, one of the tennis rackets, and I said, go over there now, we'll have a bit of a hit. And the big smile came on his face, like he loved a bit of attention, and he loved, that kind of a thing. And then two people walked over from the residential area, which was his parents, and they took out a bit of a phone and they were filming him and all that. And I just said, is that your little boy? And they, in kind of broken English, they would have said, yeah. And I just told them how, that I wanted them to know that you have one very good little boy there, that he came around and he helped me pick up the cones, and I didn't even ask him, and he's a very, very good boy. And I could see them getting a bit, I suppose kind of emotional a little bit. I suppose it was nice to kind of hear that from someone, kind of a stranger, I suppose, because it's very much an uncertain time. They don't know what's going to happen, in their future, but, most parents in that environment, they care about the kids. So, little things like that. And, I always make sure that wherever I go with these trips, that, all the equipment, all the tennis rackets, all the nets are left with them so that they can keep it going without me.
When will you get to go back, Wesley, do you think?
Yeah, the plan is, I'm hoping, I've been lucky enough to be out now 4 times to 2 different camps. So I'm hoping in March time next year now I'll get out to hopefully Turkey. There's a lovely NGO in Turkey that it's a centre called KEP Team, and that they run a centre in Izmir in Turkey for refugee women and girls. So it's not like there's no males, it's kind of a safe house for kind of refugee women and girls. So I'm hoping March time now will be my next trip, please God.
If anybody wants to buy a raffle ticket, how do they get involved? So it's a signed shirt from Rafa Nadal, it's a signed flag from Rory McIlroy, it's a Lewis Hamilton and team signed Formula One Mercedes Petronas print, signed European Super Cup Bayern versus Chelsea jersey by Franz Beckenbauer, and a Usain Bolt signed shirt. They're the raffle prizes. Anything, if anybody is interested in helping you, what's the best way to get involved?
Yeah, they have. I have my own Facebook page called Hit and Hope Tennis Coach, so people can check out my own work there. All the items that we have, they've been framed up, beautifully, and they have COAs, and tickets can be bought either on my own Facebook. Tickets can be bought through my own Facebook page, Hit and Hope Tennis Coach on Facebook, or they can be bought through the accesstennisfoundation.ie.
Okay.
So ACCESS tennisfoundation.ie, and just click on the raffle page. Okay. And hopefully people can help.
Wesley, good stuff. Thanks a million for joining us this morning. Cheers and best of luck.
Very good, guys. Thanks very much for having me on. Thank you.